to MyLab Plus. Let me get out of this. And I have to get, oh yeah, I'm in 109. So I've got to switch over to MyLab Plus. We are starting to use MyLab Math, which is a newer version of MyLab Plus. So in the near future, if you take any more math courses, chances are you may be switching over to MyLab Math also. And here y'all are. Now, there's three types of students. There's the person that wrote the book, and you know everything. And then there's the two people that I teach to. The people that somewhat remember and the people that are having a hard time remembering. So I'm teaching to y'all, okay? If you need extra help, you hit the chapter contents. Oh, well, let me go back. First, you pull up the syllabus so you can see what sections we cover. And you go to the intermediate algebra review, and then there's 9.1 through 9.5. Okay, we got that. Go to chapter contents, and the review section is down here. Now, I don't know if I showed you this. I really can't remember because I've got 3 classes doing algebra reviews right now. So I don't know if I told y'all this or not. And all of these look the same because there's about, in each class, the 109, the 110, and the 111, there are about 6 review sections. So they all look the same. So if you want to review one, and I'll show you how you know where you suck at. I'll show you in just a second. And you hit study plan. Study plan, write in your notes, study plan questions are extra problems that do not hurt your grade. Okay, this is not tied in with your grade at all. You can work these problems 100 times and they're not going to change your grade 1 point. Okay, so study plan, that's how you, now how do you know where you suck at it? Well, you go back to the main menu and go down to assignments and you go to algebra review. Now each one of these questions right here, when you click on it, comes from those review sections. See that R2.1? That R2.1 says if you go to chapter contents and you go to review 2 and then go to question 1 on the study plan, it will look just like that question. So how do you use that? Well, I remember doing this problem. We did this one. Didn't we go over a couple of review problems? Yes or no?
Yeah.
I thought we did. Okay. So I might have already said all this. And if I did, great. If I didn't, then I'm telling you now. All right. So if you need to go to the review sections, that's fine. Can you send me review questions? Yeah, I'll be glad to go over. Just hit ask my instructor. Okay, but you got to send them to me. All right. I don't think I had one, I think from Miss Cersei. And I'm not going to go over it yet, Miss Cersei, because it shouldn't even be in your homework. Okay, Miss Cersei, are you there? I'm looking. Let me go to the enrollment and see if she's here. Okay, I don't see her name. Okay, so she's not here today. All right, so I'm not going to go over it because she's not here. And plus, it's one of those Fermat's theorem, and Fermat's theorem is okay with the Pythagorean theorem, but we don't need that in here. Okay, so with that being said, now that you know where the questions in the review come from, let's go back to the review. And I just went out too far. I suck. Okay. Anybody have any questions so far? All right. So assignments. Algebra review. And I don't know, I'm going to look. I know I went over that one question. Yeah, like that one. I went over that one. Can somebody tell me in their notes what the last problem I went over? Anybody?
I didn't think you had gone over any of them.
Oh, okay. Well, then it might be just my imagination. Oh, I know why. Because I went over some of these questions. There's the same questions in my 110 and 109, and I'm doing them over and over. That's why. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to back up. Okay. Here we go. This is going to start the review. And I'm going to pull this up right quick. Make it small. Slide it over. Slide this over. Give me a second to get adjusted here. There we go. All right. Now, when you're dealing with exponents, everybody remembers the rules of exponents. So what we're going to do is we're going to write them down to kind of refresh your memory. Now, while I'm at it, I want to see a show of hands. How many of you have not had algebra in the last year? Give me a show of hands. How many of you have not had algebra in the last year? Leave your hands up till I can scroll down. Wow. Okay, so going over this algebra doesn't hurt, does it? Hopefully not. Okay, go ahead and put your hands down. I appreciate it. All right, so here we go. Product rule. The product rule of exponents says that if I have a to the n times a to the m, and these are the same bases, then I can add the exponents. The quotient rule says that if I have the same bases and I am dividing, I subtract the exponents. If I have the power rule says if I raise a power to another power, I multiply the exponents. Those are calculating laws. Okay. Aesthetically, these are the laws that make these two laws that I'm fixing to write down kind of make the problem look better. Okay. Because you don't want a negative exponent. So if I have a negative exponent, a to the negative n over 1 or 1 over a to the negative n, you just what? Flip it. And that's called the inverse rule. So if I flip this one, it becomes 1 over a to the n. If I flip this one, it becomes a to the n over 1 or a to the n. And that's called the inverse rule. And then the inverse power rule says that I have a to the n over a to the m raised to the negative w power. I don't like that negative w. So if I flip what's on the inside, then that w changes to a positive w. And that's called the inverse power rule. And then the only other rule I'll put up here in the corner, but you won't need it in trig that much, but it's called the radical rule or the rational exponent. The square root of x to the first power is equal to x to the 1/2, meaning that you put the exponent over the index. And you can rewrite any radical, the third root of x to the 4th power is equal to x to the 4/3. You can rewrite any radical as a rational exponent. Now, these are the 6 rules of exponents. And hopefully that's knocking some of your cobwebs loose. Okay. So with that being said, let's look at this problem. I'll leave that up for a few seconds. And y'all go ahead and write down the problem and do it now that you've got these rules. Bless you, cat. Cat just sneezed. Question, gripe, complaint.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
On the inverse rule, when you move the oh wait, I lost. When you move the numerator into the exponent, does the move the numerator into the denominator, does the exponent not become positive?
On the inverse power rule?
No, sir. On the number 4, the inverse rule. When a to the negative
the a to the negative n, it comes down and becomes positive. If the a to the negative n, if you flip this, it becomes positive, but it's up in the numerator.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
The 1 does not do anything. It just takes a place value.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now this problem says -4 to the 7th power times -4 to the 6th power. And the bases are the same, and I'm going to take a highlighter and I'm going to highlight that, because then if you highlight it in your notes, hopefully you'll remember that these bases have to be the same. And they are. So that will be -4 parentheses to the 7 plus 6, which is -4 to the 13th power. Now, people will be inclined to say, well, that's a -4. Well, that's fine, but you can't do anything with a -4. You can't make it a positive unless this was an even exponent. Now, an even exponent would make this outcome a positive, but this is the answer, -4 to the 13th power. Is that a test question? Well, it's not a big deal as far as trig goes, but you need to know it for the review test that I will give you before we get started on trig. Okay, so I'll put this down again in case somebody didn't get all of it down while I get to the next problem.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Is the review test mainly just going to cover the review homework?
Yeah. So
okay.
You're probably talking about 10 questions. It'll be very easy. It'll be something to give you some extra points. You know, it's just going to cover the review homework, the one section of homework that I've given you.
Okay, cool.
Okay. I try to give you more tests than you need, because it kind of helps when we get to the identity test. You're going to need it. There's your -4 to the 13th power. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to skip. Let's see what the next one says. That's 2 to the 9th. Okay, I'm not going to get into this. This is a polynomial, but I'm not going to get into describing. It's a sentence. It's a mathematical sentence. It's got a plus or a minus in the middle of it, so it's a polynomial. Okay, it's a binomial. All right, I'm not going to worry too much about that one. Okay, this is a good one. Okay, we don't have to solve it. Or it says identify the given expression as a polynomial. It is a polynomial. You're adding, and it's got different variables. It's got different degrees. You got a third degree, a second degree, and a first degree because it's raised to the first power, the second power, third power. If you had a p to the fourth, that would be to the fourth degree. It's a trinomial because you got three, and so it is a polynomial. Polynomial is kind of an umbrella for binomial, trinomial, monomial. I'm not, again, that is not detrimental to you passing trig, so we're going to move on. When I see something that's applicable, we'll use it, okay? Or we'll go over it. Okay, make sure you can do one like this. This is a test question on your algebra review. That exponent question was a test question, and this one is a test question. So let's go ahead and write this one down. I'll write it down while you're writing it down, and then I'll switch over to where you can see it. So 5x squared minus 5. 5x squared minus 5, parentheses. 7 plus 7x squared plus 5x plus 7 plus 5x plus 7 and minus 9x squared plus 4. Does anybody want to tell me what is the biggest problem for students on the problem like this? Anybody want to tell me where they think the biggest problem for students in general on this type of problem?
Combining like terms correctly?
Well, that's a good answer, but that's not, there's one little area before you combine like terms that gives everybody the problems.
Distributing the negative sign through the last.
There you go, exactly. Distributing the negative right there. That's where students make their error, okay? And then, like you said, combining like terms, after they make their error, the combining like terms is not correct because of that negative. So we're going to mark it pink. So that means you need to mark it pink, especially if you suck at it. And we're going to distribute in a pink marker that -1, because that is a -1, because if it was a 0, then it'd take out the whole term. If there was a 2, then it would be -2. But since there's nothing there, that 1 is like invisible. So I'm going to distribute that -1 there, and now we're ready to combine like terms, because this is a +1, and that's the multiplicative identity, which means that no matter what you multiply by +1, you're going to get the same answer. So you don't really have to distribute the 1 here and the 1 here, because you're going to get the same answer. So that gives you 5x squared minus 5 plus 7x squared plus 5x plus 7 minus 9x squared minus 4. I'm going to take my handy dandy highlighter, and I'm going to put a negative, a pink negative right here and right there to make sure you realize that that negative makes everything negative inside the parentheses. Now I'm going to go through and take my yellow marker, and I'm going to highlight all my x squared terms so I can add those together. And 5 plus 7 is dang old what, 12? And 12 minus 9 is what? 3x squared. So now I'm going to take my orange marker. I'm going to highlight my x terms.
Sir?
Yes.
I believe it's supposed to be plus 9x squared, because I think in the original problem it's negative 9x squared in the parentheses.
Don't tell me I wrote it down wrong. I suck. Okay, well, I'm just doing a different problem. You are correct. Thank you.
All right, I just wanted to make
I'm
sure.
glad you didn't wait till the end of the problem. Thank you. Okay, so that's going to be a negative, which makes that a positive. Thank you for, what you should have done is waited till the end of the problem. That's what students do. It makes me mad. Okay, so that's going to be 5 plus 9. Okay, that's 16, so that's going to be 21. So I'm just going to take that out and we'll put 21 x squared. Okay, now I'm going to take my orange and I don't have anything, so that's going to be plus 5x. And I don't use this blue very often because it's so dang dark, but negative 5 plus 7 minus 4. Negative 9 plus 7 is negative 2, isn't it? And that's your answer. Now, of course, all of you should be saying, okay, that's easy. That's not a problem. Of course, I know some of you are going, thank God he went over it. Okay. So, I've got two different types of students. And of course, there's the student that invented polynomials. So I've got three types of students. And if I'm helping the two that are trying to remember, then I'm doing well. Okay. And thank you again. Was that Mr. Johnson? Appreciate that.
You're welcome, sir.
I don't have conniptions if you tell me I missed something, okay? That's not a big deal. I make mistakes. I'm not like some of these academic gods and goddesses walking around Tri-County Tech that get mad when you tell them they made a mistake. If y'all haven't had one yet, you will. Okay, factor by grouping. I still swear I feel like I've gone over these before, but maybe with another class. All right, so here we go. Go ahead and write that one down. Factor by grouping. And I'm going to pull this one in, move it over. So we got 8st plus 6t, 8st plus 6t minus 4s minus 3. And I'm going to group the first two, and I'm going to group the second two. That's what's called grouping. And what's in common with these two? Well, looks like 2t. 2t, and that's going to leave 4s minus 3. Plus 3, thank you. And then factor out a negative 1, and that's going to leave 4s plus 3. And factor by grouping, what are those two supposed to do? They're supposed to match. Unless it's prime, these two are supposed to match. Like 2x plus 3x is 5x. Well, 2t blank minus 1 blank is equal to 2t minus 1 times blank. So 2t minus 1 times your 4s plus 3 that is in common. I'll highlight that pink so you'll know that I just brought that down. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, go back to pre-algebra. What is 2x plus 3x? Well, 2 plus 3, and then what does that x do? It just comes down, right? Same thing here. And instead of saying 2 plus 3, I do 2t minus 1. And like I say, if you look at that and you're going, okay, I remember that, or I'm glad he went over that, that's a good thing. So we'll type that in, just see we got it right, just so we can feel good about ourselves, so we don't have to make the back end of our car go down to the road, squat. All right, so I gotta type that in. I'm just gonna type in 3. That way I can just get the answer and show y'all what the answer is. There it is. 2t minus 1 times 4s plus 3. Next. I'm not going to do another group. We're going to move on. Okay. Factor. Reverse FOIL. No. First, we can factor out a common term. Before you use reverse FOIL, remember the first rule of factoring, don't pronounce it. Factor out a common term. Okay? That's the first rule of factoring. So in this case, we got 2a squared plus 4a minus 30. We're going to factor out 2. That's going to be a squared plus 2a minus 15. Now we're going to use reverse FOIL. Parentheses. Put an a here, 1 and 15, 3 and 5. 1 and 15 will give us a 16 or a 14. 3 and 5 will give us 8 or a 2. We need a 2, so that's going to be a 3 and a 5. This right here tells us our largest number has to be positive. So 5 is our largest number of the outside and the inside. So that's a 5, that's positive. This right here tells us unlike signs. So that's negative. So our answer is 2 times a minus 3 times a plus 4. And I will tell you right now that out of all the things that students suck at on the review, this is the number one thing, the reverse FOIL method. I don't pronounce words with OIL in it because there's always some smart aleck in the group that says that I say it incorrectly, and it's not worth going to jail over. So I don't pronounce words with OIL in it or OG. I don't pronounce DOG. I don't pronounce LOG. OIL, FOIL. So just letting y'all know that ahead of time. No comment, nothing. Let's see if somebody said something in the chat. Y'all like a bunch of recluses. We can't see your board. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. You're right. I don't know where the 4 came from. I guess I just wrote a plus. I have no idea where that 4 came from. I suck. Thank you. Who was that? Miss Patel, thank you very much. I always like for students to pick out my whatever you call them. All right, next. And we can check that, but I'm not going to check it because it takes time. And we don't need to take time checking it because I know it's right. All right, except for the 4, where I don't know where that 4 came from. I'm going to do a couple of these reverse FOILs because, like I said, chances are some of y'all probably suck at them. So, how many of you have always had trouble with reverse FOIL? Let's see some hands. Yeah. All I need is just one. But there's several of y'all that's always had problems with them. All right, so let's do this one. This one says 8b to the 10th minus 80b to the 9th minus 192 b to the 8th. All right, I'm going to let y'all work on it for a second. I'm going to pull up my handy dandy 2-jigger. Y'all work on that for a second. I got to fix something. How can I pull in a student that I just added? See if I can do that. SHAW. Hopefully he'll be it. Mr. Shaw, are you there? Mr. Shaw, are you there? Oh, he's just calling him. Hopefully. Mr. Shaw, are you there?
Yes, I am now.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you're in. I apologize. So officially, I don't know if you're on the roster. Are you on the roster now?
Yes.
Okay. So I will check and make sure. Are you able to get on My Labs Plus now?
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay. Now, to keep the bandwidth low, I tell students that they can leave their mic open, but go ahead and shut the video off because it saves bandwidth and it makes things a whole lot better. I appreciate it. Thank you. Glad you could join us. Did you, Mr. Shaw, have you gotten all the handouts on Teams, or I mean, do you need anything? Have you gotten everything?
I'm confident I have everything.
Okay, good. All right. So we got welcome Mr. Shaw. He's a new student, and we are working on a problem right now out of the review. The only homework that's available right now, Mr. Shaw, is the review. And go back to, if you can, today, go back when I load this video, go back to the first of this video, and I'll show you how you can actually work extra problems on the review. And it's the first 5 or 6 minutes of class today. All right, so here we go. We've got the problem here, and I'm going to factor out 8 probably. No, can't factor out an 8. How about a 4? 4 will go into 19. 4 times, yeah, I think we can factor out a 4.
You can factor out. You can factor out an 8.
8 times 2 is what? Yeah, okay, we can. Okay, sorry. Factor out an 8 and b to the 8th. And that's going to leave us with b squared minus 10b. And then let's do this by hand. 8 will go into 19 2 times. So that's going to be minus 2. And that will leave what? 32. And that'll leave 4. Somebody check me. and that will be 8b to the 8th, parentheses, parentheses. We're going to use reverse FOIL, and that'll be a B here and a B here, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. 4 and 6 will give us a 10 or a 2. 3 and 8 will give us 11 or a 5. 2 and 12 will give us a 10 or 14. We need 10, so there's our numbers, 2 and 12. This right here tells us the biggest number has to be negative, and this right here says unlike. So that should be your answer, 8b to the 8th, b plus 2, and b minus 12. That's your answer. And you should feel very good about yourself. And I can tell you right now that people do have problems with the reverse FOIL. So don't feel bad. Just do some extra problems. Go to the study plan. This is R321. So you would just to show Mr. Shaw right quick, you would go, if you suck at this, you would go to, hold on, I can't get rid of this. You would go to R312. So I would go out of this and I would go to study plan and go to the review section. Okay. You can go all the way, no, don't go there. Go to chapter contents. Go to the review section. R3, what number was it? 21? I can't remember. R321. Go to the R section. Go to 3, R3. There we are, R3 right here. And then 21. Go to 21. And there it is. And when you pull up 21, you got a problem there. And the problem is right there. So, and you can work on, there's 2 or 3 of these problems. You can work on them, and they do not count against you. They do not count for you, but they do help you because you're doing problem after problem after problem. And that's how you work on the review. Okay, so I'm going to shut that down, get out of there, and go back to what we were doing. And that's main menu, assignment, review. And I don't know where I was, so I'm just going to try to find where I was. Okay, factor of the trinomial. I don't know if we did one before that. That's R3. Yeah, we did it before. That's 21. So this is reverse full by trial and error. I'm sorry, reverse FOIL by trial and error. And that one, and let's see if the one before that one is also. Okay, we just did that. All right, so let's do reverse FOIL by trial and error. So I'll let you write that one down. 6v squared plus 5vp minus 21p squared. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up my handy dandy document cam. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I suck. There we go. And I'm going to break up the first one with V and V. And then the last one with P and P. Since you got a V here and a P here, you can set your problem up like that. Now 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Over here is 1 and 21 3, and 7. Now I'll show you a little trick I learned in the war. And the trick I learned in the war is always on the reverse FOIL, you need to focus on this guy. That's the guy you need to focus on, because that's the trick. The trick to the reverse FOIL is to get that middle number. Because what will 1 times 6 always give you? What will 2 times 3 always give you? What will 1 times 21 and 3 times 7 always give you? That's not the trick. The trick is to get to 5. And I'll tell you a little trick I learned over the years. If this number is a BA number compared to 21 and 6, like 127, then you use the outside numbers. But if this number is relatively small compared to 6 and 21, which it is, then you go with the inside numbers. Now that's just a little trick that I've learned, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put the 2 here and the 3 here, and let's see what happens. Because this is called trial and error. And the most important 2 is the outside and the inside. And tell me what the outside and the inside gives us. Gives us that middle term that's in green. That's why it's so important. Now I'm kind of reviewing over the reverse FOIL. The reason I'm doing this is because I know that there's some of y'all that suck at it. And I mean that all of my 109, my 111, and my 110s. I'm including all of y'all in that bunch because this is, you know, the outside and the inside. So if I take a 3 and put right here, that's going to be 6 and 21. That ain't going to work. So I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to put a 3 right here and a 7 right here. That'll give me 14 and 9. 14 and 9 will give me a 5. So I'm going to put a 3 here and a 7 here. Now this number right here, this sign tells us that the largest number has to be positive. So what's larger, 9 or 14? 14. This tells us unlike. So if that's positive, this is negative. And I guarantee you there's somebody out there going, I'm glad he's going over this. 2v minus 3p, 3v plus 7p. Okay, everybody good? And hopefully that'll knock some of your cobwebs loose. Because I'm not trying to go over, we got plenty of time to go over trig, okay? But if you don't understand the algebra, you're not going to get the trig. Just like 80% of calculus is algebra. If you can't do the stuff we're doing right now in algebra, in calculus, don't even sign up for it. All right, let's try this one, and that's for good measure. 3 is for good measure. This will be the third one. So 20z squared minus zy minus y squared. Now that rule that I gave you that said it's a very big number, it could also be a very, very small number like 1. You use the outside numbers, but it might not work on this one, but I just thought I'd bring that up. So I'm going to put a z here, parentheses, parentheses, a z here, a z here, a y here, and a y there. Well, luckily this is a 1, so we don't have to worry about that. We know that 1 and 1 will give us a 1y squared. So we know that we can't do anything about that. So this 20 is what we need to worry about. So 1 times 20 and 4 times 5. Well, in this case, we don't have I'm sorry, I'm not right. Hold on. In this case, we don't have anything over here except for the 1 and the 1. So our rule about using the outside numbers, we don't need to worry about it because you ain't got any outside numbers over here. So chances are, let's see, 1 and 20 will give me a 21 and a 19. 4 and 5 will give me a 9 or a 1. And we need a 1 right there. So I'm going to put a 4 here and a 5 here. Remember, the outside and the inside is the most important. This says that the largest number has to be negative. What's larger, 4 or 5? 5, so it's negative. And this says unlike, so this is positive. So your answer is 4z minus 1 times 5z plus, well, y, I'm sorry, and y. There we go. Knocking them cobwebs loose. What do you say? I guarantee you I'm knocking some loose on that reverse FOIL. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Find the domain. Set the denominator equal to 0. Remember, your domain is affected. Domain is affected with
priority 1 message coming
rationals
in on secure channel
and radicals. With rationals and radicals, because you can't have 0 in the denominator on a rational, and you can't have a negative in an even root radical. So the domain is affected when you have either one of these. In this case, we've got x minus 5 in the denominator. So set x minus 5 equal to what? 0. And x is equal to 5. So therefore, you cannot use positive 5 in the function. If you can't use it, there's 2 ways to write it. One is called set builder notation, and the other is called interval notation. So set builder notation, x such that x cannot equal 5. That's called set builder notation. Interval notation, negative infinity to 5, non-inclusive, from 5 to infinity, non-inclusive. And that's interval notation. Again, you're not going to see a lot of interval notation. You're going to see some, but not a lot. So domain and range is not that big of a deal, but you need to know a little bit of it. And next, set the denominator equal to 0. Factor out a common term and cancel. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that would probably insult your intelligence, because you factor out a 5 out of the first and a 2 out of the first, and you're going to end up having 5 halves because the variables are going to cancel out. Okay, this is a good test question. Excuse me, yawning. Yawning doesn't mean I got the coronavirus, does it? All right. X squared minus 6x plus 8 over x squared plus x minus 20. Trinomials are worthless unless you do what to them? Anybody want to type it in or say it? Factor them, exactly. Trinomials are worthless unless you factor them. So take a minute and factor those two. And if you can't do it, we'll just mark it up as being a failure. How about that? No comment, huh? I'm an equal opportunity discourager. Okay, so let's go ahead and break this up. And that's going to be parentheses, parentheses, x, x. Let's go with a 2 and a 4. And that's going to be a -2 and a -4. X, x, 4, and 5. Be a +5 and a -4. And what happens to the x minus 4s?
They can cancel because of
They
multiplication.
cancel. X minus 4s cancel. And you're left with x minus 2 over x plus 5. Question, gripe, complaint. Okay, as you can see, the review is a review of algebra. So what I would like everybody to do is I want to make sure everybody has at least a couple of days to go over it. So today is your first day. So Thursday, excuse me, I should be going over nothing but review questions. Y'all should be sending them in, okay? And that'll leave the weekend to finish up the review and maybe take a test, okay? And the test will be over the weekend. It won't be a big deal. It'll be like 10 questions with 10 bonus questions. It'll be like an extra grade, okay? So, and we'll probably go over the test Thursday if I don't have any questions. Should go over the test Thursday, show you what kind of questions are on the test, which will come from the homework, the review homework. So if you can do the review homework fairly decent, then you got an easy A on the test. Okay, let me get out of that. Any questions so far?
The
And
test will be on my lab, right?
Yeah, everything's on my labs on this, everything. In fact, I downloaded right here. I downloaded from my old, yeah. I got them. There's a review. There it is. Right. Oh, no, that's not it. Let's see. Where's my test? There it is right there. So you know, it says 1 and 2, but I'm gonna cut it off to 1. I'm just gonna make it, you know, 1 test, just 1. I don't know. It says 1 and 2. I don't know why it says 1 and 2 because it should say R. But anyway, I'll change it. Making a long story short, I did probably close to 10, 12 questions. That should get you started. And then any questions you have, send them to me, and we'll go over them. And that means from the review study plan, send them to me, or the homework, send them to me. Depending on where you are, it doesn't matter. All right, with that being said, I'm going to cut off the recorder and the presentation. Yeah, and the recorder.